I'm so excited for today's video because it's very creative, and that's the whole reason I wanted to do this as my little side projects, just because I love being creative and my day job isn't creative in the conventional sense. Today we're going to be turning trash into treasure. You can see my collection of things here that might give you some clues, but I don't think you're going to guess what we're going to turn these into. And I just love doing stuff like this because I don't like waste, and for example, blind boxes or bags or balls, love them, but they create a lot of single-use waste, which I don't love. So I've been saving these from my unhealthy addiction to getting blind boxes, because I had an idea of something I'm going to try and do with them. I'm going to try and make them look much more aesthetic. Watch this space. Let's see what we can do with our collection of rubbish and our craft supplies and create some super cute home decor. So I like to just keep a hold of rubbish. I like to keep my own little recycling box and keep hold of things that I think I might be able to repurpose or they might come in handy. I think the first one I'm going to start with today is putting these blind balls to use. Okay, I've cleared some space and I have plugged in my trusty little glue gun for the first craft. I'm going to take probably 4 of the same size balls to start with, and what I'm planning to do here is I'm going to make one of them back into a ball. When I say 4, I mean 4 halves. And then I'm going to stack them up and I'm going to glue gun them to each other. And you may be seeing the vision here, or maybe you're just seeing some kind of demented BB-8. But I'm going to then glue these and paint them, and I'm also going to do a little trick to add some texture to them. We take our bottom half and I am going to put a nice healthy dollop of glue on there, and then I want to try and line up the middle with the middle of the one below. So I'm going to squish it on, and then I'm just going to hold it for a second. Although the great thing about hot glue is it does dry really quick. So the other great thing about hot glue is if you did glue it on a bit wonky, you totally could just pull it off and do it again. I don't think it's too bad. I'm going to go with it. And then again, on this next layer, a nice healthy blob of glue. And I'm going to put the top one this way up, lining up the middles as best as I can again. Okay, the layers are literally instantly, the glue is dry and we have a fairly sturdy structure. I do have enough that I could do two of these smaller sizes, which I do think could be quite cute, because I just feel like this is the sort of thing that would look good together. And obviously if you wanted to make these taller, if you have more, you could do like one taller one and then one shorter one. I quite like them at this height, and I think they would look quite cool with the candle in or something like that in the top. So I think I'm just going to do 2 like this. So now that I've got them glued together, obviously we can't leave them like this. They already look so much better, but we need to make them way more aesthetic. So I got some spray paint, because plastic like this is not going to be very easy to paint with a normal like acrylic paint. However, there is another step I want to do to make them textured and to make them look more stony and like they're actually made of something heavy rather than the obviously cheap plastic that they are. The first thing I'm going to do though is just give them a light layer of this spray paint, because although this is just for colour, it's not specifically a primer one, it will do a similar job where it will just put a coating on this that will make any other steps that we apply easier to adhere, because nothing will adhere very well to this plastic other than spray paint. So I'm going to step outside, put these in my little DIY paint studio, and sorry, I stood up mid-sentence then. I'm going to take these outside, put them in my little DIY paint studio and give them a quick spray paint. We'll be back. While we wait for those to dry outside, let's move on to our next thing. These massive laundry detergent bottles. I saw a cute idea for this on Pinterest, where you make these into a little basket. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a Sharpie, and I'm going to draw out the shape that I want my basket to be. I want it to be cute, but I also don't want to make my life really difficult by having to then cut it out in a really complicated shape. So I'm basically just going to go underneath the handle all the way around, and this bit here will become my handle. So I'm going to sketch it out first, and then I will trust myself with a sharp object, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, and then we want our handle, and obviously the handle is going to be a bit off center because that's the shape of this bottle. So I roughly now have a basket shape drawn on my bottle, and I'm just gonna take a Stanley knife. Be very careful if you are doing this on your own. Please ask an adult if you are not an adult yourself, and if you're not a trustworthy adult, ask another adult. Now obviously I want to be careful not to accidentally cut off my handle, so I'm going to start at the base of the handle so that I purposely only go up to it and don't forget about it. Now this plastic's pretty thin, so it does cut quite easily. Try and make sure that the blade is never coming directly towards you when you're cutting or towards your hands. Try and keep your hands to the side or behind it. I just did exactly what I just told you guys not to do, and cut my handle off on one side, and I don't have any more of these bottles, so we're gonna go with it, and I will tape it, but when you do it, don't cut the handle off. Okay, next thing that I want to do is to cut my handle out. Woosa, we did it. Okay, let's put the sharp object away. Okay, so now that we're a bit more tidied up and I've wiped the inside of the bottle, which by the way smells delightful, I'm just gonna hot glue gun the other half of my handle on. I actually think because I've accidentally cut it on this side anyway, I'm gonna make it a bit shorter because I feel like it looks slightly out of proportion like this. I'm gonna trim one end down, but obviously leaving a bit of an overlap so that I can glue it, and I'm going to glue it on the inside so that it's not overly noticeable, hopefully once it's had its fix. I'm going to go and swap the spray paint studio and bring back in my balls and bring back in my candle holders and take the basket out so that this can get a spray paint once over too. Okay, so we have our decorative vasey candle holders in from being spray painted, just their initial coat. And that brings us to our next step, which is the most exciting step. But first, I have to go on a little side mission to steal something from my apartment building. Mission accomplished. I have stolen a little bit of gravelly sandiness. Some of it's probably a bit chunkier than I want it to be, but we can deal with that. I also have a number of these little Starbucks tins. I need to think of a craft for these. If you've got any ideas, let me know. I'm going to save that for the next video. But for now, I'm going to use the lid of one of these as a little mixing pot. So in my little mixing pot, I'm going to mix up a paint colour. That's the betting that the one I want is right at the bottom. So I want to stick with the kind of base of the colour that we have here. So I'm going to mix up some white and a little bit of yellow. I'm just going to do the tiniest little blob of yellow, and obviously we can always add more yellow, but I can't necessarily take it away. And then I'm going to pick my chunkiest paintbrush. These glitter paintbrushes are so cute. They are technically kids ones. They're triangle shaped, which is great for grit. And I'm going to mix the colours up, and you can see like I put the tiniest bit of yellow in, and that's pretty creamy colour. I'm then going to take some of our sandy dirty, obviously if you have some clean sand you are more than welcome to use it, but to be honest I'm kind of down for a bit of the grit to get in there. So I'm just going to pour some of my sandy shelly gravelly mixture into my paint. I've just realised there's a hole in my bag, that's brilliant. And then I'm going to mix all of that griminess in. And yes, that sand is dirty, but it's getting covered in paint. Like, no one's going to know that that was dirty. Don't even worry about it. I want it to be quite grainy to give us some texture and to make it kind of stony. Obviously, I don't really want like big pieces of bark or shell in there, so I'll try not to include those or pick those out when I come across them. But overall, I'm down for this to be pretty chunky. And then all I'm going to do is just like slap it on. I think I may have made this slightly too on the chunky side, having said that I want it to be chunky, but you'll see that like it's gonna just add this stony effect, and it's kind of up to you if you want it to be more or less chunky. So I'm just gonna cover the whole thing. Okay, the full coat of textured paint layer is done, and this is what they're looking like. They're a bit wet, so I'm gonna be careful, but I just love this stony look that it gives it. I am definitely, once this is dried, gonna give it another layer with either paint or spray paint. I'm probably gonna do spray paint just because it's quicker and easier. But I want at least one more layer over the top to just seal in all of those sandy bits, because at the minute, if it was like knocked over or brushed, you're probably going to lose some of your textured layers that are on the top. But I think these are going to be so cute. You can definitely put a little candle holder in here if you want, or I personally think these are pretty cute just as a decorative kind of vase looking decorative piece on their own. I'll show you what these look like once they've had their final coat and they're styled on a shelf. So this next one is so adorable. We are going to make a teeny weeny gumball machine out of a coffee cup and a water bottle. Got this used coffee cup. Obviously I have washed it out. I'm going to put the lid to one side for a minute, but I am going to try and incorporate this in because I saw someone else use the lid and I thought that was actually quite cute. So we're going to turn our coffee cup upside down, and this is going to form the base of our gumball machine. Then we're going to take our water bottle, and this is going to go upside down in the top, but we only want like maybe this much of our water bottle, so I'm going to cut this down. Obviously I'm going to take the label off because that's not the aesthetic we're going for. I think this would work really well with like a smart water bottle, if you know the ones I'm talking about, that are like completely smooth. But I have this water bottle and I don't want to create more waste for the sake of it and buy one just because I want it to look cute. Maybe one day if I happen to have a smart water bottle, I'll swap it out, but we'll do that then. I'm thinking I'm going to cut it around here to start with, maybe even here, just because obviously I can make it shorter if I need to, but I'm not going to be able to undo that once it's done. Hopefully this top bit is going to be pretty hidden in our end product anyway, so if you don't cut that bit properly, honestly, don't worry about it. So now that we have our half a water bottle, this is going to form the glass part of our gumball machine, and this is going to be the bit that holds the candy. So I next need to cut a hole in the bottom, in the bottom of my cup, which is the top at the minute because it's upside down. So in order to get the sides about right, I'm going to take the lid and I'm going to draw a little circle around it very well. I'm going to use the Stanley knife for this bit just because it's a circle. I feel like it's going to be a bit easier, but obviously scissors is just as good. It's only thin. It's so thin, I feel like you could just wedge it in and not even bother trying to tidy the hole. You can't really see it, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to cut a slit in the front, and we also want a little door at the bottom for our candy to fall out of. So I'm going to get another piece of cardboard. So I have this piece of cardboard out of my box of scrap recycling pieces, and I want to cut this like probably about half the total width of the cup, but I'm gonna make it as wide as I can, so I want it to kind of fill up the gap inside, and that will make more sense in a second. So I've cut it roughly this wide. You can see compared to the cup, it's going to cover the middle section, and it needs to be wider than the mouth of your bottle because that's where the sweets are going to fall out of. Then the next thing we want to do is kind of roughly work out, when our bottle's in here, where is the base of the bottle falling. This does not need to be an exact science. This can be a guess. It's sitting there. I know that it's kind of going to fall just below this writing, so I'm just going to go with that. Again, I'm going to use my Stanley knife, just a bit quicker and easier. Now this slit, we want it to be the same width as our piece of cardboard, because you guessed it, the piece of cardboard is going to slot into here. So to line it up, we can hold our piece of cardboard here, and I will use one of my pens to just draw along the edge of the cardboard, and that will tell me how long my line needs to be. I'm going to do 2 straight lines with my Stanley knife so that we have a thick enough gap that our piece of cardboard will fit in the middle. One thing that they didn't do in the videos, but I'm going to do just to try and really maximize this, is I'm going to round off the corners of the inside of my cardboard, just so that when it goes in, it will go that little bit further to the back. Now, the other thing which they didn't seem to have an issue with in any of the videos I watched, maybe they just had better cardboard, my cardboard's bending a lot and becoming very flimsy, so I'm actually going to fold this in half and make it double thickness and glue it together to make it much sturdier, which obviously means I need to make the hole a bit bigger as well. Okay, so now we can put our piece of cardboard in, slot it all the way to the back, and we can see we have a nice little leather bit still sticking out. I'm going to slot the bottle back in, and that is sitting quite nicely on top of the cardboard. So the last step we need to do is cut a little door in the bottom so that we have somewhere for our candy to come out of. So honestly, you can do what you want with this bit. You can cut a shape, you can make it as creative as you like, or you can just cut a bog standard rectangle out of it. I am going to use my scissors because I feel like I can do it a bit neater, and I'm going to do a rectangular-y shape because I just feel like that's kind of more iconic gumball machine in my opinion. Well, hey. Okay, there we have our little gap. Now, I saw someone online use their coffee cup lid as a top for their gumball machine. Again, I wish I had a bigger bottle that I could use for this. Let's imagine this fits more perfectly, because I don't feel like it's quite the vibe. The other thing that you can do is just use a piece of cardboard. I think eventually when I get a bottle that works slightly more aesthetically with this, I'll swap it out because it's going to be so quick and easy to do. But now's the real test. Let's put some candy in it and see if it works. I just went around the edge of the coffee cup and cut the rim off of it because the proportion wasn't quite right. It just looked way too big for the bottle I have, and I feel like that actually looks a lot better now. I've got some trusty M&Ms. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this packet was already open, and this is not good news for me because now that they are open, I'm gonna know that they need to be in. I'm just gonna pour them in like this because I don't wanna make a mess. So, now the moment of truth, when I want a little M&M fix, I just pull the lever out, and I only get 6, which is probably not a bad thing, to be honest with you. They kind of naturally come out in like small handfuls, which is great because I know I'm doing it repeatedly because I'm enjoying seeing if it works, but you get like 6 or 7 at a time, which can be great. Obviously, if you have a bigger bottle, you'll be able to get more out at once. If you have smaller sweets, you'll be able to get more out at once, but this is kind of ideal. So cute, I love it. So overall, I would say this is very successful. However, I can't leave it like this. We need to make it look super cute. So bear with me while I work a little bit of magic. Now you can be completely creative with this. You could cover this in paper, you could paint it, you could put stickers all over it, whatever you want, but I'm gonna go and glamify mine and I'll show you what the end result looks like. Okay, this has had 2 layers of spray paint so far, and it doesn't look great, but I'm gonna try and salvage it. So I feel like the twiny kind of brown string would work better for this, but I happen to have a bunch of this color yarn, which is kind of like the perfect match for what we have. So I'm just going to go around the entire handle, wrapping this yarn around it. Okay, we're pretty much there, so I'm going to cut the end off. So there's our cute handle. I now need to obviously stick the handle back on to the inside, and then we need to deal with the outside, which obviously we need to make a lot cuter because I didn't do a very good job of spray painting it. This particular bottle that I have, the labels didn't like peel off, they weren't stickers, they're like printed on it. So I don't think with this particular colour I was going to get the best coverage without a primer and everything, and I just wasn't going to that much trouble, to be completely honest with you. In order to make this look a whole lot cuter, because it is not that looking that cute at the minute, I'm going to use the rest of the plastic bottle and I'm going to cut out some little quirky little flower shapes. Now I wish I had one of those stampers that cuts out shapes, because that would make this bit so much easier. I don't currently have one of those. So. Okay, I'm going to be real with you. This craft is making me want to pull my hair out a little bit because I'm trying to make this look cute and it's not really working yet. So we're going to keep trying. I've cut out some little flower bits and I'm going to stick these just dotted around, covering up some of the bits that are peeling off or some of the pattern that you can see from underneath or from my Sharpie. And then I'm going to put a little rhinestone in the middle just to give it a little something. Maybe from a real distance, if you squint and tilt your head, it might not look awful. So that's all of our crafts done for today. I will show you the final products here from, I would say, let's rank them worst to best. So starting off is the basket. Honestly, it's a miss for me. It was too much effort for how it turned out. The one that I saw as an inspo on Pinterest, they like cut out a little lattice design so that it looked like a little like wickery basket. And listen, credit to you if you have the skills and the patience to do that, but for me this one just was not worth it. Second is the gumball machine. I think this is adorable and it's so quick and easy. This would be an amazing activity to do with kids in school holidays and stuff. Something that you can do really quickly, but also if they want to decorate it, they can just keep decorating until their heart's content, until they're happy with it. And I personally think it's just fun and cute to have on the side, even as an adult, and a fun, cute little craft to do. And then thirdly, we have our candle holder slash vase slash Architect's Digest dream of our blind bag balls, which, yeah, okay, I'm being dramatic. I don't expect this to be featured in Architect's Digest, and I'm sure if anyone from AD ever saw this, they would be disgusted that I even used the word in the same sentence. But I actually think they look pretty cute and styled on a shelf, you know, they look pretty sophisticated. Yes, if you get up close and personal, you can probably see a few little flaws here and there, but overall, I think they were super cute. Let me know in the comments what your favourite was, and please like, share, tell your friends, and let me know what you want me to craft next. I'm thinking maybe some clothes upcycles would be fun, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!